right. It's 7 o'clock. It's time for the City of Banding Planning Commission for Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Can we have a roll call, please?
Sure thing. Commissioner Orsi.
Here.
Vice Chair Jerkowski is not present. Chair Starbuck.
Here.
Commissioner Norman.
Here.
Commissioner Frey.
Here.
Commissioner Pressler. Here. Great.
All right. Consent agenda. Any modifications or discussion?
No.
We have a motion.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
Second,
Okay, motion made and seconded for approving the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, for old business. The first item, oh, wait, public comment. Right. Comments from the public on any item not on the agenda limited to 5 minutes each. To comment in person, please sign in and return form to the clerk. If participating via Zoom, raise your hand at the beginning of the public comment period. Public comments and information provided during the meeting will be collected and retained by the city as a public record in accordance with Oregon Revised Statutes, Public Records Policy 192.005 to 192.170 and 357.805 to 357.895, with some exceptions. Anybody want to speak? You have 5 minutes.
I'd like to share with you some of the concerns I have about the planning process and how it relates to natural hazards, specifically landslides.
Could we have your name, please?
Christopher Snell.
Thank you.
The city has identified a natural hazard overlay zone in line with Oregon's statewide planning goal 7, requiring local governments to identify potential hazards, develop plans to mitigate risks, and ensure that development in hazard-prone areas is either avoided or takes appropriate precautions. Bandon Municipal Code requires a geological assessment review for development in hazard zones, but it's not clear at what stage this should occur. I was surprised to discover that drainage is not a criterion listed in the city hazard overlay zone and is not subject to review as part of the geological assessment. Landslides are a common problem in Oregon, especially in places near moderate to steep slopes, during times of heavy precipitation, and during earthquakes. Seemingly insignificant modifications of surface flow and drainage may induce landslides. In urban settings, improper drainage is the most often the factor when a landslide occurs. Other counties and cities that manage risk by requiring geological reviews mandate consideration of multiple factors relating to drainage, including groundwater and surface drainage characteristics, permeability, porosity of near surface materials, actual or potential aquifers or conduits, perching situations, barriers or other controls to percolation and groundwater movement and fluctuation at the site. I was also concerned to note the apparent lack of oversight for the planning process beyond the initial phase. An earlier draft of the Hazard Zone Overlay Zone chapter in Bandon's Municipal Code included a provision for the Planning Commission to complete the review and, if deemed appropriate, require additional investigation or revised report by a state qualified individual. In the current version, the final arbiter is a person only identified as the decision maker. Although I hesitate requiring you guys to do more work, but given the big bucks you earn, I think that extra layer of oversight for particularly important situations would be a worthwhile consideration. permitting development within identified slide hazard and excessive slope areas without a fully informed review of all available geological data is at best irresponsible and a risk to both property and personal safety. It's also worth noting that Bandon's storm drain master plan is woefully inadequate, being developed in 1999. The current situation, including changes in urban growth, stormwater pollution, environmental legislation, and climate, mean that the changes in the situation have been dramatic since that early time. Reliance on questionable planning review process and grandfathered drainage infrastructure threatens public safety, property security, and the environment. This is both imprudent and, dare I say it, immoral. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Uh,
Express my opposition to changing the zoning from natural resource to residential 1, and this is primarily a values issue. I think.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I don't believe public comments on the pending issue are allowed in this hearing.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. So, because okay. Item 5.1, continuation of 25-012. The item on the Planning Commission agenda to discuss the Ocean Terrace map amendment will be continued to the June 26th Planning Commission meeting at 7 p.m. in the evening in the council chamber at the request of the applicant. The applicant has requested additional time to consult with an attorney. So that item is now moved to the next month's agenda. Report on rare member project wrap-up.
Well, I'd like to say hello. Hope everyone's having a good night. Waiting for my presentation to come up, but yeah. For the folks on the Zoom who do not know me, my name is Solwyn DeKrozik. I am an AmeriCorps Rare who is serving as a planner currently at City Hall in the planning department. I was working on long-range planning projects, which I'll be going over in this presentation. Just if you click present and then, yeah. Wonderful. That's me. I'm Solon DeKrozik. I am an AmeriCorps Rare. And this is my project wrap up. Next slide, please. So due to forces outside of my control, my AmeriCorps service term has been cut short. Originally, I was planning on being here through the end of July and finishing my projects within the originally designated time frame. However, that is not the case anymore, and my last day at City Hall is going to be next Thursday, so the 29th. And this presentation is basically going to be going over what has been done for these projects thus far and what needs to happen next and what materials essentially I'm preparing for the planners to come next. But I wanted to say thank you so much. This has been a wonderful experience being in Bandon. I'm very grateful for the time and lessons learned and the acceptance from the community that I have received here. And yeah, okay. So some refreshers on the projects that I've been working on. I've been working on 3 main projects. First one is an update to the citizen involvement plan. The second one is an update to the architectural review overlay zone. And the last one is assisting with the city park master plan or creation. So the first project that I have been working on is the citizen involvement plan update. So far throughout this service term, I have conducted a survey to identify how citizens in Bandon wanted to be communicated with, what their preferences were, the duration, et cetera, et cetera. I also develop monthly citizen involvement updates, a sheet that is updated every month to let residents know how they can be involved in the planning process. I've edited the code, the actual citizen involvement plan code. I also assembled multiple advisory committees and held events for the public. And the next steps for the completion of this process is to form a working group to voice their opinions on the updates that I'm proposing for the citizen involvement plan. To get those adopted, they need to be reviewed by the people. It's the only right thing to go forward, is to have the approval of the people for a plan for the people. But getting a working group or an advisory committee assembled, and then proposing an ordinance to ratify those code updates. And then the next slide, please. So some of the key takeaways from this entire process that I've gone through is that the community really does have a desire to discuss difficult topics and issues from the community. I had attempted to hold a town hall meeting that was ironically supposed to happen on my last day in City Hall. However, we were told that it was going to be put on hold due to a lack of political interest. And if you, as the Planning Commission, feel that this is an important item to move forward with, I encourage you to bring this up to the City Council during a joint work session and try to propose that we do hold a town hall in this town. And then, forgive me. And then also, the city should find meaningful ways to engage with the community without burdening the limited staff. The planning department, a small department, is only getting smaller. And so it's really important that we find ways to involve the community that don't burden and burn out the staff.
Solon, what was the date of the of your last day and the hearing that you were hoping for?
So I had the town hall originally scheduled in case it were to happen on May 28th, and my last contract in AmeriCorps Day is now May 28th, and I find the irony very, very palpable.
Got it.
Unnecessary point to make. I just thought it was silly, so I brought it up. Next slide, please. I wanted to just show y'all a couple of examples of some of the posters that I created for these events and opportunities to both create advisory committees and to advertise events for the public. Just to give you some examples of them. I thought they were pretty good posters, did a pretty good job, so figured I'd show them off. Next slide, please.
I saw them all.
Thank you for seeing them. The next project that I was working on was the architectural review overlay zone update. For this project, I reviewed the original ARO zone code, made amendments and edits to, well, I haven't made amendments. I made edits to it that need to be amended. I want to make that clear. To the existing code, I also formed an architectural review overlay zone advisory committee for this update, comprised of 6 Bandonites who either have businesses, properties, or just a stake in Old Town and have an opinion that they wanted to voice. And so they assisted me in the code update as well as the beginning of the creation of a design guide. Going into my next point, I drafted a design guide. It has not been finalized, but there is a preliminary design guide to accompany the code, which will make it easier for people developing and making changes to the facades of their buildings in Old Town to have a clearer cut set of standards so that it's easier to interpret the code. Yeah. And so what needs to happen next with this, the code needs to be adopted and sorry, I can't read with my reading glasses when I look at that, so thank you, thank you. We need to review the design guide and have it be approved by City Council essentially, and y'all. Next slide, please. Okay, the next project that I helped work on was the City Park Master Plan creation. For this project, I helped form an advisory committee to provide feedback to DLA. DLA is Doherty Landscape Architects, the landscape architecture company that we have contracted with for this project to help us create this master plan for City Park. There's not previously been a master plan for City Park, so this is a really exciting opportunity to have a document that will highlight all of the opportunities and wants and needs of the community for our park. I helped hold an open house that received public feedback in person, and then as well as helped put an online open house onto the city's website so that we could collect online opinions from the public as well. And so what's happening next with this is DLA will take the considerations of the public and the advisory committee into consideration for their final plan. There's going to be another open house, I think at the end of July, but do not quote me on that, to gain more public feedback on the next version that they propose. And ultimately, the approval of the city council is pending on the adoption of this document. Next slide, please. So yeah, that's kind of a wrap up of my projects and what I've done so far and what would have been done in the time I would have been here if I were to have been here throughout the duration of my entire service term. But I was just wondering if any of y'all have any questions or any suggestions for me to include in the documents that I create for the next planner for when they hopefully pick up these projects.
Well, I just have a comment to make, to be clear. You're not leaving early by choice. You're leaving because the federal government has chosen to end the AmeriCorps program nationally. Is that right?
Yes, that is very, very correct. AmeriCorps received a 40% budget cut. And so every AmeriCorps program nationwide essentially is having the carpet ripped out from underneath them.
Well, I'm sorry you weren't able to carry out your full term.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's really upsetting.
So then I have a question. Do we know what the attendance at this year's Arbor Day Park cleanup was?
We had about 4 lovely volunteers help us. While it might not have been very attended in population, but we had a lot of lovely work get done, and it was still a very successful Arbor Day, in my opinion.
Do we know, it seems like attendance at the cleanup has decreased precipitously over the years. Do we, from your committees and your open houses, do we have any insight as to why participation was so low this year?
I'll take that one. I think likely partly due to timing. As staff, we have to do this event on a Saturday, which can sometimes be hard for us to schedule our time
Right.
to be available. And I think 2 years in a row, it has unfortunately fallen on a weekend that is also a lot of softball or baseball tournaments. And so we have heard from folks that there likely needs to be better coordination between the city and the school and those youth activities to make sure we've got folks available.
Okay.
I think Also, if we had picked a date earlier, we could have gotten it in the city manager's newsletter. But you know, last year we did an enormous amount of outreach, and Nikki, when she was on the Parks and Rec Commission, held a huge event where we had 30 volunteers and 2 participants. So I think it just happens to, you know, it's like whatever, if people are available for it, they'll come, but it's not on the same weekend every year. So maybe there's not enough regularity. It tends to just be staff members and their partners that participate in the cleanup.
Okay.
And
Thank
Deb
you.
Holder, shout out to Deb, she's wonderful.
Mhm.
But thank you. I think it's a good question to keep asking and figure out how we can get more support for activities like that. Because we are required to hold an Arbor Day event every year. And so, you know, it would be great if we could get more folks attending. We do also, sorry, this is turning into a long answer, but
Fine.
we tend to have more turnout for the November tree planting than we do for the spring Arbor Day event. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's just more interesting to plant trees than it is to weed a flower bed. But that could be it too.
Okay, thank you, Dana.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan.
I had a question about, I remember last fall doing the survey
Mhm.
and that was about community engagement.
Yeah.
And what was the results of how people wanted to be communicated with?
Yeah, ultimately the overwhelming answer was through email and on a monthly basis, which is where that page about the citizen involvement, like how you can be involved every month, came from. Yeah, and that it's a template that I fill out every month that has been posted on the city's website, and then also hopefully will be included in the monthly newsletter that gets sent out from the planning department.
Okay, thank you. And I didn't know about the funding for that's so sad to me. I know Dana was a rare.
Yeah.
You're a rare. My son was a rare with the Greater Bandon Association, so it's just a great program. That's really unfortunate. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say on the rare side, outside of AmeriCorps, they're still trying to find ways to continue this program, even if it's not directly through AmeriCorps. So the work that's still being done in rural Oregon, hopefully will still continue to be done in rural Oregon, which should give people some hope. But yeah. Any other questions?
No question. I just want to comment that we're really going to miss you. And we really love the way you engaged with the community in the short time you were here.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna-
Yes.
I felt very welcomed by the community, and it was very easy to get engaged because everyone was so welcoming. And honestly, that was one of my biggest anxieties coming in, was that I wouldn't be welcomed as an outsider, but I experienced the opposite. And being here, truly, I've grown a lot from this experience, and I've learned a lot, and I am very grateful to have been in Bandon for the 9 months that I was.
You seem a little more self-assured now.
I really appreciate hearing that. I do feel a little bit more self-assured. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to extend a thank you to Solon. She's been really helpful in our department. She hops in anytime I'm like, oh my God, we have a meeting. We need to print all these things or set something up. And she's the first to say, I'm here, I'm ready, I'll help. And anytime I needed a poster, she helped out. She was just absolutely instrumental in these 3 projects moving forward. And I think what's really tough about our planning department is, you know, very few people, lots of priorities, and there's these projects that year after year we say, like, we should really do that, and we never have the energy or enthusiasm to really be able to get there. And so having Solon just take these on like full-heartedly was really helpful, and she's putting together a great packet of information that we'll be able to pass off to the next folks. So don't let the next guy forget that all this work happened, because there's definitely going to be items that are close to ready for prime time for y'all. So thank you, Solon, so much.
Thank you all.
Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah.
very much for
So-
all your work.
So Tori would be he's the guy that's allegedly going to continue being here that would need to pick some of
He's like the sole survivor. Yeah, we're working on, or I'm working on a memo to just kind of get everything laid out of where everything is and what's sort of still in process. And we'll be passing that off to him to pass on to the next community development director and planner.
Thank you.
Okay. Staff report, staff update.
Yeah, that's me. Well, I'll first talk about the fact that we do have a couple more meetings coming up. So with all of our departures, we did have to sort of schedule a couple extra meetings. So I wanted to say thanks to anyone that attended on Monday's meeting. We had a joint work session with the city council to discuss the an ongoing housing code audit and update. That meeting is recorded online for anyone who's interested and wanted to hear what happened. We're working with Cascadia Partners, which is a consulting firm out of Portland, and they are doing the code audit, which is the first piece where they look at our code and tell us what's legal and what's not, what's in compliance and what's not. And then we'll also have an opportunity to do an actual update related to missing middle housing. That's more optional stuff, so a little bit more fun. That will continue, I believe, over the next 6 months or so.
And Dana,
Yes.
I was somewhat less, I wasn't clear.
Yeah.
They are going to actually provide code updates. Is that right? They're going to write the code or?
Yeah, well, they'll give you some, so I forget what they call them code concepts. So at first they're going to give you the sort of broad ideas of here are the buckets of things you can do. And the planning commission and the city council will come to a decision on what seems like the right fit for Bandon. And yeah, then they actually do the code edits and give the city a draft to take to a public hearing. So they do a lot of the work behind the scenes, and I will put in another plug for the Department of Land Conservation and Development, which is sort of the state planning entity that provided the funding to have them here. The state's also providing funding on a pretty much ongoing basis because the governor would really like to see more housing constructed. And so there's opportunities in the future if we only get to some of the code updates now to continue that work into the future.
Thank you.
Yeah. The other item is on June 4th at 10 a.m. We will have a presentation from the student team from the University of Oregon's Institute for Policy Research and Engagement. They've been working sort of behind the scenes on a resilience project related to the South Jetty. I'll just give you a little teaser. They have been looking at both how to put in a sidewalk on Jetty Road and around Redmond Pond. We've had some issues with the permitting related to that because of the amount of storm drainage. So we're looking at some low impact options, and then also looking at a design that wouldn't be ruined every year by the number of storms that we have. So they're getting creative. We've had a landscape architecture student and faculty member working on that project. And then they've also been doing some research about the impacts of natural hazards out there and how we can respond better as a community. So they'll be giving that presentation virtually only, unless anyone wants to meet at City Hall. I just planned it to be virtual, to just sort of let you know what they've worked on. Their ultimate product is a story map that will live on the city's website. If you haven't seen one of those, it's GIS based, but it's essentially something you can scroll through as pictures and videos play with words associated to it. So there'll be some opportunities that come out of that if you choose to move that forward. And then the other one is June 9th at 1:30 p.m. The Planning Commission will have a joint work session with the City Council to discuss the transportation system plan, the draft transportation system plan. So this is sort of the opportunity for the two entities to get together and ask questions and really understand the material before it goes for public hearings. I have those tentatively scheduled. The July Planning Commission meeting would be the transportation system plan public hearing. And then the September City Council meeting, if you make a decision in one night. So those are the meeting updates. And then the other updates that are in there is that both Nikki and Solwyn next Thursday is their last day. So I'll just say again, we've loved having both of them in the department. It'll be a huge loss to not have them here. And but the good news is you probably see a new face here at City Hall. And this is Shannon Smith. She's our new planning assistant. And so she'll be here in the interim, helping you guys out. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact her. She'll be the face of the planning department after I leave. And my planned departure date is June 20th. So I'll be here for just about another month. They did hire a new person to replace me, who I believe is starting mid-August. So there is a sort of interim period where we won't have a director here, but we will be contracting with Henry Hurley, who you guys, or Lane Council of Governments, and Henry Hurley is the planner that we've worked with. You've probably seen his name on some of the staff reports. He does contract planning and helps us out with lots of things. So he'll be your planning staff member for the next few meetings until the new person arrives.
And he'll be doing this remotely, Dana, or in person?
Yeah, Henry will be doing, because he's based in Eugene, so it's very expensive to have him drive out here. So he'll be doing most of the planning work remotely. He will be present in person for meetings though, so you
Okay.
will have
Yeah.
an actual human here for that. And then that's why otherwise Shannon will be doing the sort of coordinating between any applicants and the Lane Council of Governments.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Dana, so your last date right now is June 20th.
That is my scheduled last day, yes.
So you will not, so that means you will not be here for our June planning commission meeting, correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
So I will be, I believe Tori said he would be available for that meeting. So you'll have some seasoned city staff here to help you through it, and Shayla will be here.
That would be good.
Shayla too, okay. I was gonna.
Yes. Yeah.
Is the person coming in August, is their title planning director or planning manager?
I
Do you
believe
know?
that they hired the individual under a new title, the Community Development Director. So there was a change during the budget process to turn the planning department into the Community Development Department to bring in the more economic development focused things. And because we do a lot of work with in conjunction with the engineering folks at Dyer and Public
Mhm.
Works. So we just want to sort of broaden the scope of what the planning department does. That's now like one sort of division under a larger umbrella.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
All
All
right,
right.
moving on, commissioner comments.
Well, I guess we'll get to say goodbye to you at the June 9th meeting, so. I won't say goodbye to you, but Nikki, we're gonna miss you and, we're sorry that you're leaving us.
Commissioner,
I'll echo everyone else and thank you very much, Nikki, for your work and good luck. And so then also, good luck to you and thank you for your work and what you've been able to accomplish in a relatively short period of time. And then I would say thank you again, Port Abandon, for Finian's new home. It looks very sharp down there. I think it turned out very well. And just a reminder, though it's not really a planning commission issue per se, tourists are starting to show up. So be patient as they drive very slowly, especially along our scenic areas. Thank you.
anybody else? Okay, I will say that just when I get used to looking at new faces, I gotta look at new faces again.
Keeps you young.
So I will close with that. All right, it is 7:33. This session is adjourned.
Thank you.